things are afoot at the Circle K, as they said in what movie? Do you know that one?
Showdown at the OK Corral?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Welcome to your Sunday morning edition of Bet. YouTube.com/ESPN Sports Betting is the channel if you're looking for some shorts on everything ranging from the fight game to football to basketball and everything in between. But we have a lot to get to today. It's been a wild hour in the NFL. Let's start with the market movers, where there have been some huge swings to the opening point spreads. Most notably, what has happened in the Baltimore-Chicago game. Baltimore was once a 6-point favorite for this road showdown. They're off 10 days of rest. It is now down to Baltimore 1.5 because Lamar Jackson has been ruled out. Quarterback Tyler Huntley is getting his first career start in this matchup today.
Yeah, and he just watched his Utah Utes dominate Oregon last night, so he's got to be feeling good. I imagine because Lamar missed some practice this week that he got some reps with the first-team offense, so he's a mobile, athletic quarterback as well. Certainly not Lamar Jackson level, but be interesting to see what he can do against the Bears defense without Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, maybe Eddie Jackson as well.
Line moving against the Detroit Lions. Shocking. Color me surprised that people are betting against them this week. Pittsburgh and the Chargers has been interesting. Even with Big Ben returning, that line is now up to Chargers -6.
Yeah, very, very intriguing. That's a game I'm looking closer to, staying away from the side and looking at the total. I think that's an under game.
Seattle, Arizona, there's an obvious reason for that move. Kyler Murray will not start. It will be the Colt McCoy experience in the Pacific Northwest today. All right, we're going to begin with a little segment called Playoff Picture. All of the games we'll be picking in this segment have to do with teams that have either locked up a playoff spot or not locked up, currently in position to grab a playoff spot or leading their respective division, right? So we're going to begin with that aforementioned showdown, Sunday Night Football between the Chargers and the Steelers. LA laying 6, total of 47.5. First pick of the show.
Yeah, you heard what I had to say there. I like the under on this, 47.5. This Chargers team is an under team under Brandon Staley. And then you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, whether Ben Roethlisberger is playing or not. This is a team that's going to try and beat you in lower scoring games because they can still play a little bit of defense. That offense just doesn't have the explosion. It takes a while to get downfield and put points on the board since they're down so many receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool. So 47.5 seems high for a Chargers offense, too, that hasn't really been as explosive the last few weeks as they were the first few weeks of the season. It just seems like it's probably 2 or 3 points high there. I'll go under.
So I'm right there with you, and I got a little trend for you.
Okay.
Pittsburgh's last 56 road games. 56
pretty significant
road
sample
games,
size.
42 of them have gone under.
What, 42 and
42, and there was a draw in there too. So it's 42, 13 and 1 to the under in their last 56 road. That's 76%. 76%. So I'll take the under. I don't know why I would play the over here. They're bringing a good defense to the table. And let's be honest, this is not going to be a Charger home game. It might be at the Charger Stadium.
Correct.
Correct. I'm not going to say stupid. The terrible towel is going to be everywhere. Byron Cope, I believe, is the name of the individual who created the terrible towel. All right, game number 2, the Tennessee Titans. Fresh off a 5-game run for the ages. 5 wins against 5 very good football teams. They're laying 10, total of 44.5 against Houston.
Yeah, usually they do better in the underdog spot. Little rain is expected in Tennessee throughout this game. I'm going to play under here. I think Tennessee has been really, really good and won a lot of these games, not because of their offense that much, especially with Derrick Henry out, but their defense has been awesome. So do I expect Houston to bring an offense to the table that's going to put points on the board against a team that's held the likes of, Matt Stafford and the Rams in check? What they've done with Jeffrey Simmons up the middle, Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year type candidate with a defensive background. I lean towards the Tennessee side because I know we bet numbers here. I can't get rid of my bias. I thought Houston would go 0-17 this season. They won their first game and have been winless since. I'm just not going to bet on the Titans. I'm not going to bet on the Texans, pardon me. So it's Tennessee or pass. But I do like the under 44.5 here because Tennessee's defense, I think, is going to make it really difficult for Tyrod Taylor and the Texans to score.
I am going to play the Texans in this game.
Okay.
It's what I call a Helen Keller. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to listen to it, but I'm going to hope that I can rise above and persevere, much like the great Helen Keller did, and find a way to get something done here. I'm really not going to be able to pay attention. It's going to be very difficult to figure out how to win this game, but to what we just talked about with Tennessee, look at the 5 games they just had to get up for in a row. They had to get up for Buffalo, for Kansas City, for a road game against division rival Indianapolis, for a game in LA against the Rams, and then against the Saints this past week. Houston doesn't really fit into that class.
No.
I don't see them getting up for this game, and you're laying 10. Meanwhile, Houston, 2 weeks to get ready. Tyrod Taylor knocked the rust off a couple weeks ago in Miami in a terrible performance. I think they could be just good enough to keep this within the number. Shop around, because there's some 10.5s that are out there right now, and you'd love to have that hook if you can get it.
Yep.
All right, let's keep it moving. Tampa Bay, fresh off a loss against the Washington football team. I don't think anyone saw that coming. This is Monday Night Football. They are laying 11, total of 49.5 against the Giants. From what I understand, you actually picked that upset.
Yeah, remember it was my big dog last week. The big dog was the Washington football team. So I like the underdog here again, especially with all those points. I'll take the Giants plus 11.5. I kind of like the total going over as well. But here's how I'm going to play this, just to give myself a little more margin for error. I'm going to 2-leg, 6-point tease the total and the side in this game. So I'm going to shoot the Giants up to plus 17. Love that. And then the total down to 43.5 and go over that because the Giants are getting back Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, Andrew Thomas, their left tackle. So for a defense in Tampa Bay that has been susceptible to production through the air, Danny Dimes has his aerial assault almost fully intact, only Sterling Shepard not there. And, of course, Saquon Barkley can do damage through the air. But also Saquon has a much easier matchup on the ground because this dynamic, awesome rushing defense that the Buccaneers had likely going to be without 350-pound nose tackle Vita Vea. And he's like the linchpin of why they're so off. He holds up 2 or 3 guys that allow Levante David and Devin White to run around and make plays as linebackers. So I'll tease it up to 17.5, total down to 43.5, and give me a little more margin of error for how I think this game's going to go.
Same game teaser. So that game's tomorrow. You've already got plenty of action you're going to be watching for the Monday Night Football game. More than 24 hours away. I'm going to play a prop here, a little role reversal for you and me. Tom Brady over 2.5 touchdown passes is plus 120. I like what you said about the over. I think it's a higher scoring game because I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be able to get the stops, which means Tampa Bay is going to need to throw, which means the Giants are probably going to push them. We could find ourselves in a shootout here. Brady and the Bucs are off an all-time atrocious performance at Washington last week. Now, sometimes you go out, you lose a game, so be it. Sometimes you come off the bye and you look like that, and it was hideous. Mistakes in every facet of the game. Arians and Brady were talking about it after the game. They kept shooting themselves in the foot, and it didn't matter who the opponent was. So I think you're just going to get a recharged effort. I think they're going to be throwing like crazy in this game. I think they're going to be able to hang a number. Brady has a big performance. Over 2.5 touchdown passes plus 120. To what could be the game of the day, featuring the line movement of the day in Chicago. Bears off the bye, Ravens with 10 days to get ready. The Ravens are now a 1.5-point favorite with a total of 41 in Chicago against the Bears. No Lamar Jackson. This has come all the way down from Baltimore -6. So how do you play it?
Yeah, I'm going to play the total over, and it's now 40. It's dropping even further here. Tyler Huntley is very similar to Lamar Jackson in terms of the skills they bring to the table. Lamar is just way more elite at every single one of those skills. But it's not like the game plan or the scheme or the playbook has to change with Tyler Huntley. He can do the same things that Lamar Jackson does. So you have, even without Marquise Brown, you're going up against a defense that's missing Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, a defense that has just been kind of mediocre anyways this season. On the other side, Baltimore's defense, as we know, ravaged by injury, but we've started to see things come together for Justin Fields a little bit. The game slowed down a little bit. And he may be without Allen Robinson, but as Darnell Mooney, David Montgomery is back, and Montgomery's been awesome. He came back and looked really good his first game back last week. So I'll play this reluctantly over the total of 40 is where I have it now.
Going to get a little spicy here and still play the Ravens at -1.5. It would be vintage Chicago Bears to have the deck set like this for you and to go out and blow the game. And I think that's what's ultimately going to happen. All the focus is going to be on the lack of a Lamar Jackson in this game, understandably so. And then you'll focus on no Khalil Mack for the Bear defense. Tyler mentioned it. Don't discount the loss of Akeem Hicks at defensive tackle. When Hicks is in the lineup versus not in the lineup, the run defensive splits are insane. The chasm. It's like a Grand Canyon. Great run defense with him, awful run defense without him. What is it the Ravens like to do on offense? I kind of forget.
They can run the football.
Yeah, they like to run
especially
the ball.
without Lamar Jackson, I imagine.
They are tied for the lead with the Cleveland Browns in rushing. They got 10 days to get ready off that humiliating performance against Miami. They're going to run the ball. And if they're able to run the ball with a low total, they're going to be able to grind this game. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a big defensive effort rising up. Wink Martindale's defense going up against Justin Fields. Be very careful with this one. And if the Bears roll them, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to keep it moving. All right, to the Pacific Northwest. Seattle's laying 3, total of 45.5. Seahawks open as a dog in this game, but there's no Kyler Murray. There's no DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Do you like the Seahawks?
I loved it when it was Seattle -2.5.
Yeah.
I'll take it, Seattle -3. I just think we're in a big bounce-back regression spot for Russell Wilson, who looked awful last week coming back. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett against the Arizona defense that started to fall off a little bit. Not surprising after they lost J.J. Watt for the season. Probably going to be a lower-scoring game, but I'll loved it at 2.5. I'll dabble at 3, just thinking that, again, the main reason is Russell can't be near as bad as he was a week ago. He's got to be better. I think he will.
That was the classic. Come on, stay for another beer. All right, fine. I'll do it. I'll stay for that one more beer and then 3 more on top of it. I'm with you. I'll lay the 3 reluctantly. We talked about it on Daily Wager at 2.5. It's a much better number. I'm not buying into the Colt McCoy experience. He beat the Niners 2 weeks ago because the Niners beat themselves. Then last week against the Panthers, they got rolled. Seattle's got 3 things working for him. Number 1, Russell Wilson can't possibly be as bad as he was last week. All right, in 150 career regular season starts, that was the 4th worst quarterback rating he put up. So he's going to be better. The question is how much better, because there's a lot of room to grow from what we saw last week. Number 2, Tyler mentioned it. The Arizona defense is falling off just a bit. First 7 games, they're giving up 16 points per game. Last 3, they're giving up 25 points per game. So keep an eye on that. And then number 3, old Cliff Kingsbury late in the year, known for falling off the deck. 3 years as a head coach in the NFL. In the month of November, he's 2-6 straight up, 2-5-1 against the spread. Don't be surprised if they blow it today. Seattle -3. Now, those are the teams that either lead the division or are on the just right there with a wild card spot. Now we're going to move to the bubble watch. Teams that are on the cusp but haven't necessarily gotten themselves into a playoff berth as of yet. We begin with the Cleveland Browns. They're laying 13, total of 42.5. Laying 13 with a total of 42.5 against the Detroit Lions. Do the Lions break through this week?
No, I don't think so. Jared Goff out. They're dealing. Tim Boyle will be starting, and it's in Cleveland, which can be a tough place to play. And Cleveland's got guys that can get after the quarterback. Hello, Myles Garrett. Their defense is okay, and then Nick Chubb running against the Detroit Lions defense is. Yeah, we could see a 200-yard game. That's within the realm of possibility with Nick Chubb and that offensive line against Detroit. And the fact that Detroit will probably have a lot of 3-and-outs, short drives and punting the ball, I think Chubb will get fed early and often and have a big game. So even though it's a big number, I think given what Detroit is bringing to the table, very shorthanded, and Cleveland can just pound you with that run game, I'll lay the 13. I think they win this by 2-3 scores. If
you told me today the only piece of information I get for this game in advance, someone has come back from the future, and the only piece of information is that Baker Mayfield will play an average game, I got no problem laying the 13.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to need to do a whole lot
I
here.
agree.
I will lay the 13. Somewhat reluctantly, because Mayfield is more than capable of not being average in this game. No Jared Goff. The thing with the Lions is that they're somewhat easy to predict. They will give you a performance where you think, hey, they're ready to turn the corner. Then they will not give you that performance the following week. Look at what they did with the Rams a few weeks back. They went to L.A., they went toe-to-toe, they covered the spread in a tight loss. We were all impressed. Then they lost by 100 to Philadelphia, who isn't even that good the following week, and that game was in Detroit. I think you get the tie against Pittsburgh last week. They probably celebrated that performance because it wasn't a loss, and now they get smacked around this week. I will lay the 13 with you. Cincinnati laying 1.5 here in town, total of 50.5 against the Raiders. I shudder to think what your thoughts are on the Raiders right now.
That's a great little nugget right there. Overs are 11-2 at Allegiant Stadium since it opened. I'm inclined to think that points won't be hard to come by in this matchup, especially on the Cincinnati side. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 1.5 with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, obviously, Joe Mixon, they will be able to move the ball almost at will against this Las Vegas Raider team that's kind of crumbling from within. So especially if that over trend continues, if this game goes on over, I love Cincinnati even more. I think the only way you like the Raiders, or if you think this game is going to go under, if Cincinnati does not live up to its expectation as far as scoring, I think they will. Therefore, I'll take the Bengals.
Nicely done. I will play the over. It's one of my favorite plays of the week. This is one where you won't be reluctant. You will go full tilt on this one. Why is that trend in existence? Why are there so many overs at Allegiant? There's no home field advantage at Allegiant. Some of these games were last year when there were no fans, so there's no home field advantage. This year, the traveling team comes in and takes over the stadium. Like in Minnesota, they give up 29 on the road. They give up 17 at home. They have a home field advantage. Seattle, in the Legion of Doom days, they had a home field advantage, right? There's no home field advantage here. Cincinnati's off a bye. They lost 2 games prior to that against the Jets and against the Browns. It's time to get right. They're going to put up a big number. Derek Carr and the Raiders are going to have to throw to keep pace in this game. Ultimately, I see it going over. It's one of my favorites of the week. It opened around 49, now up to 50.5 through the key number of 49, something worth mentioning. South Philadelphia is the site of Eagles Saints. Philly laying 2.5, total of 42.5 against New Orleans, who's off that loss at Tennessee last week. The Eagles are looking to make it 3 wins in 4 games, while the reeling Saints try to avoid a 3-game losing streak. For more on today's game in South Philly, here's Sal Paolantonio.
Joe, let's face it, the playoffs start here in South Philadelphia between the New Orleans Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles. Both of these teams need this game. The Eagles can't go to 7 losses and then expect to run the table the rest of the year to slide into a wild card spot. And for the Saints, they've got 2 tough games coming up after this one, and they've lost 2 straight. Each of those 2 losses by 2 points. So they know they've been in games. So this is a very difficult game for both of these teams, but both of them definitely need it. The NFC is a muddled mess right in the middle, and they've got to get a win on both sides of the football.
Thank you, Sal Powell. Next time we see you in Philly, you'll probably be on the roof. Every time we go to him, he's in a different location. He's on the field. He's in the bowels.
I like it. It's a little variety is the spice of life. You know, touch every corner of the link. Is it still called the link?
It is. Lincoln Financial Field, the link, where I believe the Eagles have won almost no games this season. They have not been good at home. So let's pick it. What would you do here?
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 42.5. It is a low number. It seems like a lot of my plays for the total have been under today, but this is one that just smells like an under. First of all, you look at the New Orleans side. Trevor Siemian, again, probably going to take the bulk of the snaps at quarterback. No Alvin Kamara, no Ryan Ramczyk, no Terron Armstead, no Andres Pete. That's the 3 best offensive linemen on one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, including both bookend tackles. So a much easier job for Philadelphia and a good defensive line to get after this team. Philadelphia now running the football with reckless abandon like 70% of the time because they have a really good offensive line. They have Jalen Hurts who can run, and they're getting Miles Sanders back today. They're alpha running back, even though he's not going to carry the ball 20 times. This is just going to be a game where I think play volume is suppressed by the fact that both teams will run and New Orleans will be wildly inefficient.
I like it. You made a case for the under, but like in that case, you made a case for the Eagles as well, which is exactly what I'm going to do.
I think so.
I'm going to lay the 2.5. Tyler hit on a bunch of the key points, all the injuries for the Saints, and a Philly team that, go back to that game against Dallas early in the year where they didn't run the ball in the first half. Now they're 3rd in the NFL in rushing. How did this happen? It's the Ravens and the Browns and then the Eagles, 3rd in rushing. It's almost like if your quarterback is young and not very good, you might not want to put every ball in his hands to make a play on every snap. Nicely done, Nick Sirianni. It only took 2 months to figure that out. But today, 2 teams that can run, 2 teams that can defend the run. Yeah. The difference is the quarterback play. And I think at home with Jalen Hurts, who's had a good, solid month over the last 4 weeks, I think that's the side. Lay the 2.5 with the Eagles. Don't lay the 3. That is starting to creep up out there. Carolina and Washington, the Cam Newton game, going against Ron Rivera's former head coach. Carolina laying 3.5, totals 43. Does Newton get it done?
I think so. I think this is a letdown spot for Washington after what they did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this Carolina home field advantage will be legit because this team is going to be jacked up to see Cam back at under center. Christian McCaffrey has now played 2 games and his touch and snap count went up. I expect to see the full Christian McCaffrey experience. If Cam Newton can access more of Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, that's a big benefit as well. Keep in mind, Washington, they can't defend the pass. The one thing they did have was pass rushers, right?
Yeah.
Chase Young's out for the season, and Montez Sweat has a broken jaw. So I like Carolina. I wish it was 3, but I'll take 3.5, thinking that the hook is negated by the energy that will be inside that building from Cam being back at home.
First roulette bet of the show.
Ooh,
although it's not one of those games where I'm very, very... What's my percentage of cashing the ones you toss me? I'm maybe 10%.
Maybe I got to just get more arc on it coming here. That's kind of a line drive.
I tend to give you the floater. You tend to just bullet it at me. Although I could make a play by just catching it every now and again. Not a game I love. The total's 43 in this game. So to have 3.5 points with the underdog means a lot more than having 3.5 in a game that's totaled 56, right? Where you're supposed to get a shootout. I don't know. Maybe Washington figured something out during the bye week. They came off the bye and they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, to Tyler's point, and he's exactly right, there's a lot of injuries along the Washington defense that are worrisome, but I think there might be too much hype regarding Cam Newton after all. There is a reason why no one else wanted him. There's a reason why New England got rid of him. There's a reason why the only team that brought him back was so desperate and so over Sam Darnold that they brought him back. A little bit of a ticket sale pop, too, as well.
Yep.
Smart business on that end. Smart business. All right. Big dog, little dog. It's that time of the show where we highlight underdogs that we believe are live. Live underdog means a dog that we don't just think can cover, a dog we think can win the game outright. This guy called the big one last week, had Washington over Tampa Bay. Job well done, sir. So now we look to keep it moving. First one. And by the way, big dogs are classified as dogs of 3.5 or more points. Little dogs, 3 or fewer. So we're going to start with the big dog. What do you like?
Colts.
Ooh.
7-point
Not
dog.
fly well in my household.
In Buffalo. Now, Buffalo is one of the better teams in the NFL, maybe the best in the AFC. I get that, but have they shown to be a wildly consistent team this year?
They have not.
They lost at home against Pittsburgh week 1, and then they lost in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. So while they have a high ceiling, their floor is certainly down here. And this Colts team, although disappointing when you look at the win-loss record, they're finally healthy. And if you have Jonathan Taylor running behind an offensive line anchored by Quentin Nelson and all those guys up front that are now healthy, fully healthy, you can win any football game against anyone. Taylor has more than 100 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown in 7 straight games. If he does it here against Buffalo, it'll be 8 straight, tying LaDainian Tomlinson for the last time that streak has been matched. And I think he can do it, even though Buffalo is a really good run defense. The Indianapolis run game is matchup proof at this point with how great Jonathan Taylor is. So if Carson Wentz don't turn the ball over, maybe defense make a play against Josh Allen. JT's got to be JT, but I think they can win that game.
Give me the Jaguars. +7. +7 it's up to now against San Francisco 49ers. It's all about the spot. Niners just had the big emotional win over a division rival in the Rams on Monday night. Short week of prep time, cross-country travel, early start time so the body clocks are off. Against the Jaguars team that has been playing some good defense, generating some really nice pressure the last 2 weeks. They got after Carson Wentz last week. Don't look at the final score. 7 of those points for the Colts came on a blocked punt. That the Jags will be the Jags, so that type of thing will happen. But I don't like the Niners at all in this situation. Wouldn't be surprised if the Jags sprung it outright. Give me the 7. This game's going to be far more competitive than people realize. Little dog, what's it going to be?
Little dog's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. Now, on Daily Wager, I picked the Packers, but there's only like 2 or 3 games
minimal options
that fit a small dog here. But I think Minnesota is a live small dog. Anytime they're playing at home, they can win any game because it is
maybe
a true
Packers win by 1 and you push both bets.
Exactly. There you go. So if Aaron Rodgers' toe is bothering him more than we are letting on, if they figure out a way to stop Devontae Adams, which, surprise, they haven't done in recent years, Minnesota can win this game outright.
All right. Before I release my little dog selection, I've decided this is a big game, so I'm going to the bullpen.
Oh.
All right? I'm going to bring in some help on this one. I'd like to go to the bullpen, call in the big guns, because we're going to talk about Kansas City and we're going to talk about Dallas. Chiefs laying 2.5, and it's the marquee matchup of the day. So let's go to Arrowhead Stadium and visit with the great Ed Werder. Ed, we appreciate the time. Let's start with this. Dallas wide receiver Amari Cooper out today and out on Thanksgiving against the Raiders after testing positive for COVID. How are the Cowboys going to replace that missing offense today at Arrowhead?
Well, it's interesting because Dak Prescott has the Cowboys leading the NFL in scoring average and offensive yardage rankings. They haven't achieved this late in the season since 1995, the last time the franchise won the Super Bowl, or as Chiefs fans may remember it, the year Patrick Mahomes was born. With both teams coming off 40-point games, the first competition between Prescott and Mahomes has created expectations for a really high-scoring game, but that now seems a challenge for the Cowboys without number 1 receiver Amari Cooper, who tested positive for COVID and will miss at least the next 2 games, as you said. Prescott has not played without Cooper since the Cowboys acquired him in a 2018 trade. Now, the Cowboys do have depth at receiver, and Mike McCarthy has managed the team's injuries all season. The Cowboys have played only 2 of their 9 games with their 3 best receivers available. I'd expect CeeDee Lamb to play outside with Michael Gallup, who returned from a calf injury last week. Cedric Wilson is their 4th receiver. He can play in the slot. Between the receiver situation and the expectations that left tackle Tyron Smith misses his 3rd game with an ankle injury, I'd expect the Cowboys to emphasize Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard if they can block a veteran front and have some control over the way the game is played.
Ed, when we look at how the Cowboys defense matches up with the Kansas City offense, we were worried about this Kansas City offense a few weeks ago. Then they put 41 up on the Raiders. Mahomes throws for 5 touchdowns, 400 yards. But that was just one game. And this Dallas defense, especially opportunistic, taking the football away from opponents, has been really, really good. So are they going to try to beat Dallas by forcing turnovers, or are they going to try and have a different game plan to keep Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce in front of them?
Well, the Cowboys have 14 interceptions, including 3 last week, and Trayvon Diggs leads the NFL in that category, so Mahomes needs to be wary of that. The Cowboys are coming off what Mike McCarthy says is their highest-graded defensive performance in his 25 games as a head coach, describes the team as confident and says he's expecting to build off their most recent game. That'd be quite a feat. As you said, Mahomes coming off his best game of the year, and you have to wonder if this is a game where the Cowboys struggle on defense because they continue to be without injured DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory, their 2 best pass rushers. Rookie Micah Parsons has taken over the team lead in sacks, and he'll be a challenge for the Chiefs in pass protection, lining up at a variety of positions today. You know, it was interesting that cornerback Jordan Lewis says the Cowboys defense has to be prepared for 2 plays every time the Chiefs snap the ball. The play the coaches call from the sideline, and the one Mahomes turns that into when he extends the play. I think the other issue for the Cowboys is yards after the catch. You know, the Chiefs lead the NFL in that statistic. The Dallas defense has performed badly in that aspect, and defensive coordinator Dan Quinn has created great awareness about that being a key part of their performance against this Chiefs high-octane offense today.
Excellent stuff as always. Ed Werder from Arrowhead Stadium. Thank you very much, Ed.
You bet. Thanks.
A lot of action in the background, like a Cirque du Soleil show. Very nicely done, Ed. Spoiler alert, my little dog is the Dallas Cowboys, if you couldn't see that one coming. I'm not buying into what the Chiefs have done over the last 3 games. Congratulations on beating the Raiders. They've been on the precipice of disaster for about a month now. And you beat the Packers without Rodgers and the Giants, who are terrible. And you didn't cover the spread in either of those games. Dallas has been very good, especially on the road this season. Blech. 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, beating the closing spread by an average of 6 points per game. We're going to go with the Cowboys, get a little on the money line as well. That leads us to take it to the bank. Take it to the bank. Let's take a look at how we did last week. Were we hot? Were we cold? Do we even remember what we picked for this segment, since we're picking every single game?
I don't remember what I had.
Boom. I mean, the Bills were crushing in that game. If there was any sort of competition,
that's the reason why.
He would have been able to throw. Philly-Denver stays under. That needed a bit of a miracle in the fourth quarter if you were watching that game. That broke my way. How are you going to play it today? What's your favorite bet?
Christian McCaffrey, take it to the bank, over 5.5 receptions. Also a good price, plus 115 is what I'm seeing. McCaffrey had 10 targets last game. Cam Newton, P.J. Walker, whoever's out there, these are guys that check down, that don't push the ball down the field very much. They like to throw low A-dot passes, and Christian McCaffrey's a nice low A-dot target to have. He should be out there for 85 to 90% of the snaps and see 8 to 9 targets.
Take it to the bank with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Las Vegas Raiders going over 50.5. We talked about this a little while ago. The Raiders are giving up an average of 27 points per game at home this season. That ranks 27th in the National Football League. The Raiders offensively, top 5 in yards per play, top 12 in points per game at home. I think this game has shootout written all over it. Cincinnati off the bye. That offense is going to get right. The question is whether or not the Raiders can do their part, and I believe they will, over 50.5. It wouldn't be a show if we didn't talk a little hoops before the end of the program. Hey, big hit in daily fantasy from what I understand recently.
Yeah, we had a nice Monday last week.
Congratulations, this guy. So, the floor is yours, Mr. Basketball.
I owe Lonzo Ball a meal or a bottle of wine. His big night. Yeah, his big night against the Lakers what helped me out. But I'm going to go to San Francisco. The Warriors laying 9 against the Raptors in town. Last time we saw the Warriors out there, no Steph Curry, no Draymond Green, no Andre Iguodala. They were shorthanded. But they're still a deep enough team now that all those players are back. Most notably, who I would call the league MVP for the first few weeks of the season here. I'll lay the 9. It's a big number, but they've been an awesome team defensively, especially they can suffocate a Raptors offense that can, move in fits and spurts.
They look rejuvenated.
Yeah,
I used to cover that team. This looks like the team from the first 3 years of the dynasty where they wanted to go out and play every single night and win. And not just win, like crush the opposition. I'm going to go to the Lakers and the Pistons. I'm going to play under 211.5. I believe we're on the opposite side here of this game.
I think we are a little bit. But...
So 2 roulette bets today. 2 roulettes, 1 in NFL, 1 in the pros, or 1 in basketball. LeBron James back for the Lakers, good for the offense, which hurts an under, but it's also very good for the defense, and it's also very good for the pace as it slows down. Detroit's one of only 2 teams in the NBA this season that's scoring fewer than 100 points per game this year. They're terrible. They can't score under 211.5, although I am betting against the move, and I am betting against my man, who happens to be Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Thanks for checking us out today. We appreciate it. We're back on Monday. Good luck with all your action today.